Hey guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to today's video. Today is going to be the first video in my makeup inventory series. It's going to be 3 videos, I believe. So today I'm going to be showing you my entire eyeshadow palette collection. I may also be considering getting rid of some, so if I do decide that, then I will show you and tell you which ones. So basically I am doing this to show you everything in my collection at the beginning of my low buy, basically, so then maybe at the end of the year I can redo the video and see like what I used up, what maybe I did purchase throughout the year. So I think it'd be pretty interesting to see. So if you want to see my entire eyeshadow palette collection, then just keep watching. Guys, so I store all my makeup in this IKEA Alex 5 drawer piece of furniture. I usually keep my palettes in these bottom 2. Used to be just one, but now it has pretty much overflowed into this one as well. So I'm just going to go through and show you every palette and if there's any that I want to get rid of. I don't think there will be that many that I want to get rid of because I am going on a low buy, but I will let you know if there's any that I'm going to get rid of. So we'll start in the bottom drawer because I have less in here. I have this Natasha Denona Star palette. It is pretty, and I do like Natasha Denona's formula. I don't think I'll be purchasing any more palettes from her, at least none of her expensive ones, just because I can't really justify that price. Next, I have the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. I also want to say that a lot of these palettes were gifted to me, and this is a collection that I have accumulated over the last like 5 years. So I know it seems like a ton for one person, and it really is, but this is not something I've just accumulated in a short amount of time. This is 5 years time, and it's a lot of gifts, and you know, there was one Christmas that all I asked for was palettes, so that's why, and I think that Christmas I got like 6 or 7 palettes, so I know it's a lot, but like I said, a lot of it has been gifted. I have purchased some, it just depends. But anyway, let's just keep moving. Then I have this Morphe and Kathleen Lights palette. Honestly, I never really reach for this, but I am going to keep it for now. I think by the end of the year, I'll have a good idea on what palettes I really just don't use and could maybe get rid of, donate, throw away if they're bad, or give to my sister. But for now, I am keeping most of my palettes just because. Then I have this Tati Beauty palette. This is her Textured Neutrals Volume 1. I really do enjoy this palette. I am going to do a dedicated video on this because I do have some thoughts about it and about the launch, the initial launch I should say. And yeah, I am going to keep this. I think it's a really great concept to have the same color but in different textures. I really love the concept. Then I have the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Thirsty palette. I really do like this palette as well. He is discontinuing it, I'm pretty sure, so unfortunately it will not be available forever. This shade right here is the best crease shade in my opinion. I absolutely love it. If he came out in a single and I ran out of this, I would totally buy this in a single. So I'm kind of sad he is getting rid of this palette because it is nice, but I understand, you know, as a brand you can't keep around every single thing you've ever created. I imagine that keeping around that kind of inventory would be a pain. Then I have the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Blood Sugar palette. This was my first ever Jeffree Star Cosmetics palette, and this also was what I used in my first ever YouTube video. The packaging is kind of a pain, but it is a really beautiful palette. Love it. I love the concept. It is definitely a different style of packaging than you see normally, but I will say it is very bulky and not something I would want to travel with, but I am keeping it. Next, the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Alien palette. I'm obsessed with aliens, UFOs, that whole thing, so this palette was an automatic yes for me when it came out. I had purchased it when it launched. This is what the inside looks like. I really do like this palette and the packaging. This is literally my favorite palette packaging, but of course this is not travel friendly, so it is definitely a stay-at-home palette. Then I have the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I love the colors in this. I love gold shadows, so this is good. My only complaint with this palette is for my skin tone personally, I wish there was like a lighter transition type shade, but honestly I have so many palettes that it's not really that big of a deal. I can usually just dip into a different palette. I also want to note that I am going to link below any videos I have that have tutorials for any of these palettes, just, you know, if you want to check those out. Then I have the Lunar Beauty Moonspell palette. I kept the sleeve just because I thought it was really neat. Looks basically like a book. And then you open it up and there are the shades. Really like the look of this palette. And honestly, the concept of this was what really made me want to buy it. So I did. Then I have this Pat McGrath palette. This is the Mothership. I actually don't know what the name of this is, but it's one of them. This is the only Pat McGrath palette that I own. It is really beautiful, but again, same with the Natasha Denona, I just can't see spending the kind of money that these palettes are on makeup anymore. I'm really trying to think about my purchases, and honestly, over $100 for an eyeshadow palette is insane considering it will expire. Then I have this Morphe Jeffree Star palette. Honestly, I only purchased this pretty much because it was a Jeffree Star collab. I personally think his brand's palettes are way better. This is Morphe, so I like the quality. I don't mind this palette. I just don't really reach for it that often, along with all of my Morphe palettes. But I would say like his eyeshadow formula of his own brand is definitely better than this, in my opinion. But it's a pretty palette. It has shades that I would use, but I did mainly pick it up just because it was his collab. Then I have the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. This is the original. I again like how many color options there are, and I know some of them maybe seem kind of similar, but I feel like you can create depth, I guess, with the different shades. Again, this is Morphe, so it's not like my favorite eyeshadow formula in the world, but it is a nice palette, and I definitely won't be getting rid of this. Then we have the Morphe and James Charles palette. Honestly, I don't even really watch James Charles or follow him that much. Nothing against him, it's just, I just don't really gravitate towards his videos. But this is his palette. Honestly, it's not like my favorite palette in the world. I do think it's good. Again, Morphe, not my favorite eyeshadow formula, but you have such a wide range of colors, and you have these shades in a bigger pan because they are meant to be the shades that you probably would use more. And I just really do like how you have a lot of colors and you pretty much have everything. I ended up taking this to Coachella last year and doing a look with it, and I was pretty happy with how it turned out. I don't mind this palette. So yeah, it's not bad. It's just so large. That's the problem. I mean, look, even the Jaclyn Hill palette is big, but look at the size of it in relation to the Jaclyn Hill palette. It's quite large, so kind of is a little bit demotivating to use just for that reason. I'm gonna reorganize these later. I just want to move along. Alright, then the bulk of my palettes are in this drawer. So I have the Huda Neon Pink palette. I am definitely getting rid of this. I used it like 1 or 2 times in Vegas for a pool party look. Not really my favorite. It's also just not something that I really would ever wear in my normal everyday life. So I do have this listed on Poshmark, and hopefully I can at least get like 10 bucks back or something back for it. Just not my type of palette. I honestly wish I didn't buy this. I had also had the neon orange, but I have already sold that one. I sold it a while ago. And I do like the size of these palettes, but this is just not really my desired color story. Then I have the Urban Decay Naked Honey. I actually really do love this palette. My boyfriend got it for me for my birthday, and it has just my perfect kind of tones, those goldy honey tones, which I think complement brown eyes personally. Then I have this Natasha Denona Mini Nude palette. I really do like this, and it is a mini, so it's nice. It's really nice for travel just because it's so small. I do enjoy this palette. However, I have created like solo looks with it, like putting this in the crease and then just topping with one of these and then deepening the outer corner. So you can create a complete look with it, but if I were to travel somewhere, I would bring this in conjunction with something else. Then I have this Too Faced Hot Buttered Rum palette. I had purchased this at Ulta with like a gift card, and honestly, it's nothing to write home about. I really don't reach for it. I am going to keep it for now, but I could see this being a palette that I would declutter down the road. But it is pretty and it's mini, which again, I do like the size of it. And the colors are nice. It just was nothing that really blew my socks off. So, you know, I don't really reach for it that often. Then we have the ColourPop and Kathleen Light's Zodiac palette. This is what it looks like. Sorry for the glare from the light. Some of these palettes glare pretty bad, but I like this palette. I like ColourPop's formula. I really haven't purchased from them in a long time, just because I feel like they have so many releases, it's hard to keep up, but I have nothing against this palette. Then I have the Kathleen Light's ColourPop Dream Street palette. Hands down, this is my favorite ColourPop palette that I've owned. I've owned a few in the past that I've gotten rid of, and obviously I own the Zodiac. This one is one of my favorites, and I've actually created quite a dent in this shade. I think I'm going to put this in my 2020 Project Pan to try to pan this shade because I already have a good dent in it, so I think it would be doable. This is a really pretty palette. I can create an everyday look with it, no problem. I could even spice up a look if I wanted to with the blues, so I really do enjoy this palette. Then I have this Charlotte Tilbury Starry Eyes to Hypnotize palette. This was the holiday release this year. The packaging is very glary. I feel like her quality has stepped up. I had one of these style of palettes from holiday a few years ago and I really just wasn't impressed with it, but I do think her quality has stepped up and the colors in this are pretty. Then I have the Tarte Maneater palette. I believe I have a video on this one. I have a video on several of these on my channel, but I have traveled with this one a few times and I like it because it is small and you just get your easy everyday look with it. Nothing super elaborate in my opinion, but that is fine. You know, I feel like every palette, or not every palette, but some palettes have, you know, more to them which make them doable for more not so basic looks, and then you have this which is like perfect for just your basic looks. Then I have the Tartelette Toasted palette. I do enjoy this palette. I think when I first got it and I did a video on it, I was not super impressed with it, but now that I have used it more times since then, I do quite enjoy it. I think it's a nice everyday, again, an everyday palette, but there is some room to like spruce things up with this. It has like flecks of sparkle in it, and I don't know, it is more of an everyday palette for sure, but I don't know, I like it. Then probably my all-time favorite palette is this Dominique Cosmetics Latte palette. Don't ask me what it is because obviously these shades again are nothing really like groundbreaking, but I just absolutely love this palette and I want to reach for it all the time, and I really want the latte too because I think they would be good complements to each other, but I'm just waiting until I can fit it into my budget. So that will definitely be one that I will pick up, but I absolutely love this palette. And you have the two color options, which I'll be honest, I have not used either of these two shades yet, but I have used all of the top shades and the 3 shimmer shades on many, many occasions. This is my perfect everyday palette. I love this palette. Then we have the Melt Cosmetics Gemini palette. I really do enjoy this palette too, and the main reason that I picked it up was for these green shades. I think green and like goldy brown eyes looks really good. I don't know why, but I do. And I really do enjoy the Melt Cosmetics formula. This palette and one other one are the only two that I own, but I see they are coming out with like it's like a pinky kind of palette that's similar to this style, and it's really pretty and I'm definitely tempted by it. It'll be coming out I think around Valentine's Day. But anyway, I really do like this palette. I would recommend it. Then I also have the Melt Cosmetics Smoke Sessions palette. I love these shimmer shades. These ones on this side are just so gorgeous. I like to use this palette in conjunction with the Gemini palette. I think they complement each other very well since this is a predominantly shimmer palette. Really, really enjoy this. I think it is amazing. Then I have the Urban Decay Electric palette. Hands down, this is my favorite colorful palette, and I see they are coming out with a new like colorful palette. I don't know if I will pick it up, but this electric palette is definitely my favorite color palette. Anytime I want to do colorful looks, like for festivals or whatever, this is the palette I want to use. I just love it. I can't really explain why it's more special than any other color palette, but to me it just is. I know this is no longer available, but it is definitely one of my favorites, and I will not get rid of this. Then I have the Tartist Pro palette. Sorry, the packaging on this one is really glary as well. You have quite a nice array of just natural shades. As you guys can see, most of my palettes are natural. I have had colorful palettes before and I just don't really reach for them, just like this Huda Neon palette. You know, I just don't really reach for those shades. I think, honestly, the Urban Decay Electric palette is enough color for my taste, honestly. So, then I have this NARS Skin Deep palette. This is a really nice natural palette again. However, I will say that if you are fair skinned like me, I'm very pale, this can get to be very deep very fast. I mean, it is called Skin Deep, so maybe that's why, but I felt like when I was doing the look, it just got very dark very fast, so I would use this more so, on my skin tone at least, in the nighttime versus for a daytime look. I mean, you can create a daytime look with it, but again, I found that it got very deep very fast. Then I have this NARS Ignited palette. It is predominantly like shimmery shades. I don't reach for this a ton, but I do like to dip into some of these like shimmery shades sometimes if I'm using a different palette that has more mattes. I wouldn't say this is like my favorite NARS palette, honestly. I could see myself maybe getting rid of this down the road just because it doesn't have a lot of mattes. These are the only 3 matte shades over here. But for now, I am going to keep it, and I do enjoy it. Like I said, I like to take some of the shimmers and just tap it on to a different look that I'm done with a different palette. Then we have the Dose of Colors Desi and Katie Friendcation palette. Really do like this palette. I hadn't used it in a while, and then I picked it up again recently, and it is a good palette. I really do love this green shade, this blue, and this like black blue almost. I think they're really pretty, and you can create some really nice nighttime looks with these two. So I'm definitely keeping this, and the packaging is just, it's really pretty. Then I have the Kylie Cosmetics Sipping Pretty palette. This was my first ever Kylie Cosmetics purchase. I like this palette. I don't really think it's anything like to write home about. It's not blow your socks off quality, but I can create good looks with it. It blends fine. I don't mind it, and I just honestly love the glittery pink, and you do get quite an array of colors here. I mean, it's not like the whole rainbow or anything, but there are some pinks and the blue and a lot of natural colors, so it's a good combo of like pops and natural for me personally. Then I have the Huda Beauty New Nude palette. It is like your soft pinky nudes with some glittery shades in here. The only thing I will say that I don't really enjoy about this palette is that a whole shade is wasted on this like concealer shade. I don't use this. I use my own eye primer, my own concealer. I found that when I did use this, I just did not like it really. So I think that's kind of a letdown to have that in here, and I'm sure it will dry out eventually because it's not like this is like airtight or anything. It's just a magnet. So I wish they wouldn't have done that, but it is a pretty palette. I need to get more use out of it. It's a different nude palette than some of my others since it is more pinky, but that's the Huda New Nude. Then we have the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk. This is definitely a little bit different than some of my other palettes. As you see, you have some like purpley tones, but again, there are a lot of natural neutral shades in here as well. So none of my palettes are super out of the box, really. This is a pretty palette. I'm honestly not a big fan of like the glittery shades in palettes, but it does have some pretty colors, and I don't mind this palette. I have not used either of these a ton, so I definitely want to get more use out of them. That's another thing I think about this low buy, no buy year is that I'm really going to get to use a lot of these palettes, and I will find what I actually do like. And like I said, I'll be interested to see by the end of the year if there's any that I could let go of. Because honestly, right now, I really don't want to let go of any other than that Huda Beauty one, the neon. But, you know, who knows, by the end of the year, I might have more that I would want to get rid of. Next, I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Alyssa Edwards palette. This is definitely a more colorful palette. You can get like a neutral look with these shades over here, but it is definitely meant to be more colorful. And I do like this palette. So I need to play with it more. I need to play with all of these palettes more, honestly. But from my experience using it, I don't mind it. I like ABH's formula. Next we have the ABH Riviera palette. This has some nice color in it as well, like the blue shimmer, purple, pink. Definitely like a pigmented palette. When I went to use it one time when I was doing a colorful look, I found that it was pretty pigmented, as I find most of Anastasia's shadows are. Then we have my favorite ABH palette, which is the Sultry palette. I absolutely love this, and it is more cool tone, so it's different than other palettes that I have in my collection. And this palette, honestly, I wore looks from this palette to a festival on 2 different occasions and was sweating, and it rained a little bit the one time, and honestly, my eye makeup still looked really good. I was impressed. I really do enjoy this palette. I don't think you can get this anymore though, unfortunately. Then we have the ABH Modern Renaissance. Very pretty. I used to use this a ton when I first got it, so I do like it. Then we have the Soft Glam. This is another one I used a ton when I first got it, and I recently was using it. I was making myself dip into some of my older palettes, and I do like this. I will say I don't think I like it as much as I did when I first got it. I don't really know why. I guess because I've tried so many different eyeshadows since then, because the Naked palettes, the Too Faced, and then this and Modern Renaissance were like the first types of palettes that I owned, so it's a nice palette though. Then we have the Urban Decay Naked Heat. It's funny because when I first got this, I didn't really use it that much, and then I picked it up not that long ago, and I was actually like, wow, why don't I use this more? So I definitely want to get more use out of this. I quite enjoy the Naked palettes, honestly. I don't know. I know some people hate them, some people love them, but I enjoy them. Now, as I say that, this Naked Reloaded palette, I used it 1 or 2 times when I first got it, and I was not super impressed with it. I was actually considering getting rid of it, but I decided I would give it another few chances, and if I really just end up not liking it, I might just give it to my sister, or maybe try to sell it on Poshmark. I don't know. I am going to keep it for now and maybe give it another try, but for some reason I just wasn't super impressed with this one when I first got it. Then we have the Urban Decay Naked palette. This is one of my favorite palettes. I'm sad they no longer make it. This is like an OG classic. I really do like this palette. I use it quite often. This one I may try to do for my project pan as well, like to pan one shade in here, just to start getting through it, because unfortunately this is one of my older palettes, so I want to start working on my oldest ones first, I would say, for panning at least. But I will be sad when I no longer am able to use this, or like if I run out, I would be kind of sad. So that's the Naked. Then we have the Naked Smoky palette. I don't use this one a ton, but whenever I do want to do like a dark smoky eye, then I will reach for this one because I do enjoy these shades. I think they're pretty nice. Then we have I think this one is probably my favorite, or I would say this one and the Honey and then regular Naked are like my top 3. This is the Naked 3, which is like those pinky nude shades. I really do enjoy this palette. I have quite the dent in this shade right here, so I really do like this. You can create a very romantic, soft eye look with this. Next we have the Urban Decay Naked 2. I'll be honest, I think I've only used this like 1 time. This was one of the palettes that I got that Christmas I mentioned when I got like 6 or 7 palettes. I don't know why I don't reach for this a ton. Honestly, I could see myself letting this one go down the road, but I will keep it for now. Again, I think at the end of the year I will have a good idea on what I really want to keep in my collection and what I don't. So this is the Naked 2. That is it for my Naked palettes. Then I have the Too Faced Chocolate Bar. This is another one of those palettes that I got for that Christmas. I used this a ton when I first got it. I don't really reach for it now, but part of me just doesn't want to let it go because it is one that I've had for a long time. but the shades are really pretty. I think I used to create my everyday looks with this all the time, so I'm definitely going to keep this for now at least. Then we have the Gingerbread Extra Spicy. I wasn't buying anything from Too Faced for quite a while, and honestly it was just because nothing was really standing out to me. A lot of the palettes from them I think do look kind of the same, but when this one and the other one that goes with this came out, I was pretty excited. This one came out in the holiday 2019. I do enjoy it. I think it's nice. I think the quality is fine. I can create some nice looks with it. I also have the Gingerbread Spice palette. I actually bought this in 2019 when they re-released it. I did not pick it up the first go around, but I was pretty drawn to it this year. Honestly, I don't think you need the spicy and the extra spicy and the spice, but I'm a little bit extra and I wanted to have both. I do like both of them though. Then we have the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. My boyfriend got me this one and I think it's so cute because it's the hearts. I don't reach for this a ton though. I would say that this is not one of my favorite Too Faced palettes, honestly, but it does the job. Like, I can create looks with it. Honestly, with all of these palettes, I can create looks with them. Now, of course, some of the formulas are better than others, but I can at least create looks with all of these and can go about my day. It's not like any of these just don't work at all. Then we have the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. I really do like this one. I think it has some nice colors, no complaints. And then last but not least, we have the Too Faced Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar. I used to use this one a ton when I first got it as well. The chocolate bar and the semi-sweet chocolate I used to use all the time. So I do enjoy this one as well. And that is it for all of my palettes. Alright guys, so that is it for my eyeshadow palette collection. I will be doing a face product collection as well as a lip collection very soon. This is going to be the first one in that little series doing my makeup inventory. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I did not do a good job of getting rid of any, but it's also hard for me to just get rid of palettes when I did spend money on these or people gifted them to me. So, you know, I'm gonna keep them, and then I think through this year I will really be able to learn like what palettes I really do enjoy, since I'm not gonna be buying really any new ones. Maybe one or two here or there if I can fit it into my budget, but I'm really trying to not buy any new makeup right now unless it's replacement. So, hopefully maybe by the end of the year I will have hit pan in some of these, and maybe I'll have a better idea on which ones I would really feel comfortable letting go. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe before you go, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!